What is the difference between county jail and prison? That is what we're talking about today. I'm Eric. We're back for another episode of From Prison to the Streets. I served 11 years in prison from the time I was 17 till the time I was 28. I was in county jail for part of that, actually. So I guess I should say incarcerated. Anyway, that is what we're talking about today. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, but definitely leave a like because it tells YouTube that this is relevant content and it will show this video and videos like it to more people. If you don't like the video, please leave me some positive feedback. Something that I can do to make my videos better. I appreciate that. Now, county jail versus prison. What is county jail? How is it different from prison? That's what we're talking about. Some people get it twisted. They say, oh man, he was in jail for a long time, or, they'll say a guy's in prison when he's actually in county jail. So, there is a difference between the two. They are not the same at all. Matter of fact, I would rather be in prison than county jail in most cases. So, county jail is primarily a pre-sentencing detention. Okay, so let's say you commit a crime, and it is a crime that is severe enough to warrant going to trial and carries prison time. Well, prior to you going to trial, you need to go somewhere, and you are going to go to a county jail, in most cases. So, once you are convicted on that, well, let me back up. While you're in county jail, while you're undergoing the process of making it to trial, because it is a lengthy process, you have preliminary hearings, you have all sorts of hearings prior to your trial. And so while you're awaiting your trial, you will typically sit in a county jail. In the United States, you have the right to a speedy trial. And that's defined as, you have a right to your trial within 180 days of being charged. So it's actually not that speedy at all. It's quite lengthy. Anyway, so you're going to sit in county jail while you're waiting for your trial. After your trial, if you're found guilty, then you get shipped off to a prison. That's where you're going to spend a lot of time. Years. Usually you won't spend years in county jail. Maybe if the prisons are full, you might spend a year in county. It's not very common to spend years in county jail, though. Usually you'll get to your trial, or you'll get to where they offer you a plea agreement, and you'll take the plea agreement and you'll go to prison for your lengthy time. But there's a few more differences aside from that. So a county jail is what it sounds like. It is a county facility. It is not run by the state. It is run by the county. That means in some cases they have a bigger budget for some things. In a lot of cases they don't have as big a budget. Most county jails will be air conditioned, whereas most prisons, at least in the state of Kansas, are not air conditioned. You'll have a heater in the wintertime in prison. That doesn't work very good. But you won't have any air conditioning. So that is one plus about county. The downside, though, oftentimes in the summer, if you're in county, they'll crank the AC way up to intentionally make it uncomfortably cold. Because for some reason, less fights occur when it is cold as opposed to when it is hot. Another thing with county jail is county jails have fewer programs. You're not going to get a lot of substance abuse programs. You are not going to get a lot of self-help programs or mental health programs when you're in county jail. They just don't have the funding for it in most cases, or they don't care. Prison looks at you like you've already been convicted, because you have, and they need to rehabilitate you. Sort of. It's kind of a facade because they don't actually rehabilitate you. So there is a certain amount of money that is allocated for self-help programs, mental health, things of that nature. The other thing is, with county jail, oftentimes you'll get better medical treatment because in many counties, at least where I live, if you have a chronic medical condition, if something comes up and you're constantly sick and you're not getting better, they will take you out to a medical facility. Whereas in prison, the health care and the um, food service is privatized. It is bid on by private industries, or private companies, I should say, that come in and they make the food and they take care of you, from the medical standpoint. So, county jail is probably going to have better health care and better food. A lot of people think jail food sucks, but it's still a lot better than prison food. So, fewer programs, better health care, better food. There are also usually no weights or a weight pit in county jail. There's usually not an outside yard. Usually you have a recreation room where you might be able to shoot basketball hoops or something like that, but it's all indoors in most cases nowadays, unless it's a really old county jail. And that leads to some health problems in itself because you have guys that are waiting there for 6 months, sometimes a little bit more, but not usually. And there's no programs, there's not an outside yard, and they're eating food and doing nothing. So you're getting very little exercise and you're getting a lot of food, you're going to get fat. A lot of people go to county and they get very fat. Another thing about county, because they don't have the funding, oftentimes they don't have a very good library. And this is because a lot of the books in the libraries in county jails are donated. And so there's not a great selection of books in most county jails that I've been to, anyway. And, you're locked down in your cell a lot in county as opposed to prison. Prison, they have funding for, their library. They have an outside yard. They have weights, usually machine weights, not free weights, in most prisons in Kansas, anyway. But you're moving around a lot more. And you have a better library, so when you are stuck in your cell, you have something good to read, unless you've been behaving and you have a TV in your cell. Which that's not going to happen in county. You're not going to get a bunch of electronics in your cell. I've heard of some county jails in Kansas letting you have maybe um, maybe a radio, like a portable radio, like those little Walkman size radios. A lot of people who are young are just going to be like, Walkman, what is a Walkman? But yeah, basically a small radio about like that big, maybe a little bit smaller, and you can have that in your cell. But usually nothing of any decent size. You're definitely not going to have a TV. You're going to have one TV in your pod, and it will either be set on a certain channel or there will be a schedule on what channels it's going to be on during the day. Or maybe they'll let the inmates have the remote and you can just all agree on something or fight over what's going to be on TV. That's what happened in my county jail. So that's fun. I spent a lot of time in my cell doing push-ups. Seems easier. Less drama. Another thing, in county, the phone calls are kind of ridiculous. They're super expensive compared to prison. Now, prison has expensive phone calls. If you want to call your family, it is expensive. But in county jail, it's more so. You're talking, I don't know, I think 70 cents a minute or more for a phone call. So it's pretty pricey, plus like a or $3 connect fee. No bueno. And I think I said it before, you're locked down more. So you're stuck in your cell, can't come out to the day room as much. Not that there's much to do in the day room. You can play cards or play chess, watch TV. Can't go outside the yard. You can go to rec room maybe a few times a week. But yeah, you're in your cell a lot because there's not much to do in the day room. There's not an outdoor yard. There's not many programs. You're not going to be out in the day room talking to your family unless you're made of money. So you're in your cell a lot with no books. And that, being stuck in a cell with no way to keep your mind occupied, is very difficult. People really start to lose it in county. And then when you add the element that you don't know what's about to happen to you. So serious crime like mine, I could have been spending the rest of my life in prison. I had no idea how it was going to turn out. And that not knowing creates an anxiety that just eats you up. That's one of the worst things about county jail, is the anxiety and the tension that you feel constantly. Now, it's kind of crazy that you are held pre-sentencing. Because technically you haven't been convicted of a crime. But they still detain you because you're suspected of a crime. But in the United States, you're supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. So you could be held in a jail for 6 months and then be found innocent. So that's 6 months of your life you're never going to get back. Kind of crazy. The whole innocent until proven guilty, but we're still going to lock you up until we prove you guilty. I don't like that. Of course, I was guilty of my crime. But not everybody is. And a lot of people are wrongfully convicted eventually, so kind of crazy. But let's contrast that with prison a little bit. So, in prison, you have a lot of movement. You have different, you have a uniform. In Kansas, you have a button-down blue shirt. You have jeans. At least in El Dorado, that's how it is. And the rest of the facilities, you get a polo shirt and jeans. It's not even a polo shirt. It's just a t-shirt, whatever. Anyway. So, in prison, you have multiple pairs of clothes, whereas in county jail, you get a pair of oranges, and then every few days, they'll change out your oranges. You get an orange jumpsuit, basically. So you have more clothes in prison. You can buy shoes, you can buy sweats, you can buy shorts, you can buy sweatshirts. You can buy your own underwear, you can buy your own t-shirts. They're all white. They're just for recreation, but you can buy all that stuff. You can buy a hot pot for making coffee. You can buy a TV. You can buy a radio. You can buy a typewriter. You can buy an MP3 player. You can have all sorts of electronics if you stay out of trouble. The food is horrible. The food, I'm not going to lie. The first time I ate prison food, I immediately threw up afterwards. Not good. I didn't eat prison food for like a week. The only thing on the tray for a week, when I first got to prison, the only thing I ate was the dessert on the tray. So usually a cookie or a piece of cake. The food is horrible. It is done by a private company. In Kansas, it's Aramark. And they have a interest in staying under budget. So the state says, okay, we'll give you this much money per tray. And if they come underneath that budget, they get a bonus. So their interest is in feeding you less or poor quality food. Healthcare in prison sucks. I have a video on it. If you get sick in prison, there's a really good chance you're going to die. That is the short version of it, but I'll put a thing up here so you can go check it out. It sucks. Yeah, healthcare in prison sucks. It works about on the same principle as the food service in prison. It's done by a private company, and they get X amount of money from the state to take care of you. If they come in under that, all that extra money goes into people's pockets. So yeah, no bueno. The phone calls are a little bit cheaper than county jail, but, it's not as big of a deal because you can move around during the day. You're not on lockdown all the time. And so more electronics, you get to move around more, you can buy clothes, you can buy nice stuff. You're going to be there for a long time, which sucks. But that's why you have more privileges and stuff, because they want to have a person that is going to go back to society and be able to halfway function, which they fail at anyway. But yeah, they want you to have some little comfort so you can keep your sanity to a degree. But so prison has weights. You can go out to an outside yard, you can get fresh air, you can see the sun. Sometimes you can't see the horizon, like Lansing. You have 30-foot limestone walls surrounding the place. It was built in the 1860s, so it looks like an old fortress. That sucks. It looks like a castle or something. But yeah, you can't see the horizon, but you can get fresh air. You can see grass on the yard. That's cool. Feel the wind. You can lift weights. That's really cool. So you can stay healthy. In prison, some prisons anyway, you can play a musical instrument. Like if you can play guitar, you can do that. You have more programs. You have more religious programs. If you want to go to church or temple or whatever, you can do that. So that's pretty cool. County jail doesn't have many religious programs if you're not a Christian. Even if you're a Christian, you might have one primary worship day a week, and then you'll have a Bible study day every week. And that's pretty much it. In prison, if you want to go to church 7 days a week, you can. But in county jail, there's like no religious services if you're not a Christian. That's pretty much the only one that has a real service. So, yeah. Prison, you'll have all sorts of services. And if there's not clergy on the outside willing to come in, the inmates will do it themselves. They'll run their own call out. So that's pretty cool. And there's more self-help stuff. All sorts of mental health services. There's all sorts of self-help stuff in general, like financial management. You can do life skills. You can take classes on starting your own business. All sorts of stuff. It's just really cool. Anger management is a big one. Family life, team building. Really cool stuff. If you're looking to better yourself in prison, there's all sorts of programs. County jail, not so much. So, I don't know. I think I've pretty much covered everything. Prison has a bigger budget, so it's more programs, stuff like that. Horrible food, horrible health care. More time out of your cell, more privileges. Less constrained. But you're going to be there for a long time. And it's more violent. You got guys in prison that have nothing to lose. There are people in prison who have killed other people in prison and who will kill other people in prison again. That's the reality of it. You have to worry about getting your head smashed sometimes. You have to worry about getting stabbed. You have to worry about getting raped. I mean, there's just a lot of violent stuff in prison that sucks. County jail is not that violent. Not that big a deal. Some stuff goes down, I'm not going to say it doesn't, but it's not like prison, for sure. I think I covered pretty much everything. My mini fridge is getting loud now, so I think I'm going to end this video at that. I'm Eric. This has been another episode of From Prison to the Streets. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all. I will see you next time.
Break these chains.